Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. Very excited and pleased to have Mr. Ed Winiecki, PGA, CCM. He is the business and career consultant for the PGA of America here in the Southern California section. He is new to that role, and we are delighted that he's taken the time to come on and educate us about true value and self-worth. Good morning, Ed. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, John. Thanks for your, and good morning, everyone. Things are going well so far. Let me start off by saying thank you, John, and thank you, Tom and Nikki, for, again, putting on such a great educational opportunities for our section professionals and associates. This goes a long way, and it means so much to so many. So thank you for making this happen. Today, we're going to talk about true value, and it's more than just a name. It's what we do. And you'll hear me as we go on in the presentation about doing business and about golf being more about business now than it ever has been before. Next slide. So how do you create value in your job? If you look at the chart here, let's start with team. Team is, they don't just do, they teach. So if you are either leading a team or part of a team, it's about helping each other, it's about teaching each other and growing together. That's so important because not only does that help you with your own value, it helps the team value, which if there's a great team in place, as you all know, everybody wins. With strategy, it's thinking ahead to solve issues before they happen. And that is what creates even more value. And the more times you're in a situation that you can learn from something that happened, whether it's good or bad, you can take that with you and continue to use that for future strategic moves within your career. Service, understanding your customers' needs and finding a way to fulfill them. Well, that sounds very simple and very cliche, but I would say that if the separator and is in service at a club or at a resort or at any position that you hold is all about top-notch service. You could go out to dinner, you could go to the club, you could go visit a club or a resort and play golf and have a good time. And the defining factor will always be the people and always be the service that separates them. That, again, is a huge part of your value proposition. The company, they instigate admiration. Well, what that means is that you want to be part of it. They want you to show who you are, how good you can be, not only on a daily basis, but every week, every month, and every year. You bring so much value to that company, and we'll talk more about how we're going to do that if you're not already doing it now. The business side, as I said, I'll talk about business a lot in this presentation. Understand by looking at the big picture. So if you're not in a position currently to see the financials, to see a business plan, to see where the club or your driving range, or if you're doing a renovation, where that's all headed, then ask for it. Ask to be part of it, ask to see it, ask to learn from it. That'll continue to show your value, even if you're not a decision maker in that process. Next one is quality. They embody the core values of the business. Well, the core values of the business, which we will talk more about in a minute, are so key to what you believe in every day and what the company runs on, or your club. Excellence, offering above and beyond service. Again, it goes back to service. So what does excellent service mean? Well, I think we've all experienced that. And I think like all good operators, like all good professionals, when we go somewhere and we see excellent service, maybe something different that club or that resort is doing than what we're doing at our property, we take that idea and we bring it back and we install it so that we can continue to be the best at what we do and show our value. And customer, making every experience one to be remembered while building relationships through engagement. Well, again, it sounds simple, but it's all up to you. And the more that you can have great relationships, it only raises your value. Next slide. So you are the most valuable asset, okay? And that only comes from being authentic. You know, we have servant's heart in our business, and we are all authentic, and that shows. And it shows if you're not. An example would be if you were giving like, let's say 7 lessons in a day. Well, that 7th lesson might not be getting the authentic you. It might not be getting the same energy and the same power that you deliver as you did in your first lesson. So those are things that you need to remember. And whether it's the beginning of the day or the end of the day, you start strong and you finish strong. And you continue to do that, you'll gain trust from your members and the guest. There's 2 types of value. Something has intrinsic value, and when we value it simply for its own sake. So examples of intrinsic value would be friendship, love, wisdom, pleasure, beauty, or health. That's intrinsic. Your market value are skills that you set apart from others that you have done, and again, to show your value. Those can give you your value that those which you rank to show your employer what your worth is. Now, it's not always showing your employer. Showing your market value also shows to your customers and to your members. Next slide. So the best advice creating value to members, guests, is to under-promise and over-deliver. We've heard that. I hope you practice that method every single day. It's important because the best salesman is when you under-promise and over-deliver. When you buy a new driver, for example, do you give a free lesson? Or, and I hope so, when you fit someone, do you include the fitting fee into their new driver or not? There's so many ways to under-promise and over-deliver. And it can be something so small, it can be something that is so big, but I can tell you, whatever that moment of happens, or whenever you deliver that wonderful experience, no matter how big or small, it is remembered. And I will tell you that if it's a member or a guest or another employee or your employer or your boss or whatever the case may be, those types of experiences are great takeaways and they won't forget it. And it's something that you need to keep reminding yourself on to note those as you go along. Next slide. One example, if you look at Ben & Jerry's. Now everybody knows Ben & Jerry's. We've all eaten there and I've probably had more ice cream there than I can shake a stick at, but that's another story for another time. But companies don't under-promise and over-deliver, okay? Most companies don't. And the great thing about Ben & Jerry's is they have done something to raise the value of what their company stands for and how they deliver it. Ben & Jerry's figured out a way of the winning solution to sound financial, accepts the company was one that met company goals while providing customer service and quality products and a benefit to the environment through their purchases. Next slide. Customers felt good in their belly and in their heart. So if you look at their 3-part mission statement, it talks about product, it talks about economic, and it talks about social. That's one example of a company that thrives on making sure they round all the bases. We're no different at our clubs and being in the golf business. Doesn't matter what club you're at, what company you work for. If you're a golf professional, these are 3 things that you will do every single day. You'll have a product mission, you'll have an economic mission, and a social mission. Social is who we deal with. Economic is at all ends trying to do its best to save money or be smart with our financials at our clubs and our businesses. And the product, well, the product is also you. The product is not only what we sell and what we give away, but also yourself. And so all 3 of those are great examples of what has made Ben & Jerry's so wonderful over the years and such a memorable company. They brought value to their customers while doing all the other things. And that's something that you want to keep in mind and for what you do every single day. So if you don't have a mission statement for yourself of what you deliver, and if you've never put together a goals and objectives for a year, make sure that you have your own personal mission statement of what you are going to deliver and how you're going to deliver it. This next slide, don't go yet, John. The next slide is Professor Dan Arley. You might have seen this video before. Professor Arley was injured in a very severe accident, And so you'll see the right side of his body is scarred and burnt, and the left side of his body is fine. So don't be alarmed when you see his face and he's got a beard on the left side of his face and not a beard on his right side of his face. So listen to what he says. Listen very closely to showing value and how that value is perceived and earned. Go ahead. If you want to play that, thanks, John.
John, I think some are having issues with the audio.
Ed, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I heard the video loud and clear, but I guess some people are not hearing it. All I could say is turn the volume up on your computers so that you could hear everybody. Mine is all the way up, and I heard it perfectly. I guess we'll try here one more time.
Let's try one more time, John. If it doesn't work, I'll just explain what the video is and we'll keep moving forward. Why don't we try one more time? Thanks, everybody, for your patience.
Yeah, I heard it perfectly. My audio volume's all the way up, though. I think it's something to do with everybody's personal computer.
Ed, is there maybe a YouTube link we can include when John sends a presentation to everyone?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, because there's one more video in the presentation later. So if that's
I think it's an issue with Zoom probably.
Okay.
I think you and John are the only ones that can hear it.
I can't hear it either.
Okay, then it's John. It's playing on his computer, but it's not coming through Zoom.
I guess, yeah, I guess one of the gentlemen said it's a Zoom sharing thing. I'm not sure how to do that. I think that would be John. I'm not sure. So let's just move forward. John. We'll go to the next slide, John. Thank you. So sorry about that, everyone. In the world we're living in, sometimes we have technical difficulties, and that's where we just adapt and move forward. So let me tell you just a brief 30-second summary about what that video was about. The video was about.
And then, I'm sorry, Ed, not to interrupt, but if Ed's going to send me the link, that YouTube link, and I'll include that YouTube link in the email of the recording for the presentation, so everyone will have a chance to go and view it on their own.
Yeah, I'll send you. I have another video later in the presentation, John, as you know, so I'll send both links after it's over. And it's sorry about that. I know it's very memorable to be part of that. So hopefully you get a chance to watch those two videos separately because they're impactful and meaningful to this presentation and to you. So thanks, John, for that. I appreciate that. So just a quick summary about what's in that video with Professor Airley is he describes someone pulling up to a parking meter and they only have a $1 bill. And a passerby says, he says, "Can I have a quarter to meter? I don't have a quarter, I'll have his $1 bill. And can you have change for $1? He says, "No, but I'll give you a quarter for $1." He says, "No, that's okay, I'll take my chances." So another person walks by and he says, "Do you have change for $1? He goes, "No, but I can go get you change. I'd be happy to run down to the bank 3 blocks down the street and get change with 4 quarters, and I'll run back and give you that if that's okay." So he runs down to the bank, gets 4 quarters, runs all the way back. He gives the gentleman the 4 quarters back from the $1, and the gentleman puts the quarter in the meter and gives the other 3 quarters to that gentleman. So in turn, he wound up paying him more to do the errand or to do what he was doing for him as a gesture than he actually paid for the parking. And the point is, the premise is that is what you do is so valuable. And are you willing to run for that? Are you willing to do the extra, go the extra mile? We've all heard that. Do the extra things that makes a difference. Well, that made a difference. And he was willing to pay the whole $1 to someone who was willing to work for it and showed value in what he was doing and worked hard for it. So we've all worked hard for what we do. And the part of the thing is, when you show you're determined by how much you give in value, right? But that doesn't mean money that you give away. So for example, if you have the ability in your golf shop to give discounts and you're giving discounts all the time because you're trying to show how nice you are or what a good, how you're trying to take care of your members or guests, that may seem fine, but at some point that's going to decrease the profitability of the operation. So instead, create the desirability of what you can bring back to your customers or your members. And every single day, it's what the customer finds desirable. Keep remembering that. You have created that value. Okay, next slide. So developing a path of fierce loyalty. So let's go through this. We have our A, B, C, D, E, F, okay? Our A is for awareness of the product and the service. B is to become familiar with the value, familiar with the value of what you're giving, what you're providing, what you're doing. C is consideration of participating or purchasing. So if you're part of the process and you understand what value went into those goods or the services you're providing, you understand the consideration of how the end value will come out. D is for decision. And that is part of the consideration it piggybacks onto consideration. What decision are you making based on the number of goods and value of items that you had either purchased or were part of that process? E for engagement. Engagement of a customer developing a relationship. And developing that relationship rolls right into loyalty. So engagement rolls into loyalty, and fierce loyalty, it's pretty common, and right there, has way more intrinsic value than regular value. It's the fierce value, which means you did more, you went over and above. And that's what people want to appreciate most, is you showed your value, you went above and beyond. Think of all the times you did that. Okay, next slide. What are employees looking for? Again, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I will say this, that golf has become a business. And I said that earlier. And if you're not treating it like a business, then I think you are missing the opportunity to, again, be involved with all the things that are on the slide, all the things that on how you can help and how you can raise your value, which again raises the company's value, your team's value. It's all circular. I don't write job descriptions for employers that do not include most of these items. Employers know what golf professionals do on a daily basis, what they want to know, and how they are different than everyone else. So how can that difference benefit their facility? That's the key. And again, if you did that chart on the right there, and the big words, it says revenue. If we were to run the same chart 20 years ago, revenue might not be the number one biggest item on that, what we deliver and what they're looking for. Now it is. And there's many different ways. And you look at the second biggest one is growth of business. Well, COVID helped us out and we're all doing very well. So that's a bonus, but you have to do all these things of what employers look for. And I added the two on the bottom, which just last night, because I thought they were so important: out of the box thinking, creativity, and innovation. The only way that you're going to continue to raise your value is if you do that. You have to be a difference maker. You've got to be a game changer. And you're the only person that can do that. Next slide. What are members and guests looking for? It's right there. Understand your customers' needs, develop your strategy, implement your strategy, and create a memorable customer service. Again, it sounds simple, but if you're not all in and you're not buying into the philosophy of doing this every single day, then your value is not going to continue to show. Your value is not going to rise. Your value is not going to be recognized by your employer. And those are all things that are very important. You know, when I'm talking to employers and we're talking about doing the compensation survey, everybody on this webinar today, if you've not filled out your compensation survey, please do it, because it's so important to showing employers the professional's value. And if the value is lower in certain areas, in certain job descriptions, in certain, well, then that's our job, is to get that up and to raise that value as a whole, to showcase them. Next slide. So what is your value proposition? What makes you unique? Now, everybody in this call has done something unique and different from everybody else. What that is, I don't know, but that's something you need to continue to focus on and raise the bar. Customers know what they want, they just don't know what's possible. That's another difference makers. That's what you will provide. You are the difference makers. You are unique. You are innovative. And if you don't jump out of bed in the morning and say, I can't wait to change someone's view today, to make someone happy, to look at them in the eye and say, you know what, I hope I made a difference in your life today. It may sound very cliche, but I'm telling you, those are the difference makers every day. Anybody who's on this webinar has ever been to a Ritz-Carlton? If you ask any Ritz-Carlton employee right now to pull out their little book of values, they have it in their pocket. It's in their back pocket. It's in their shirt pocket. It's somewhere. And it shows what their team values are, what they stand for, and their motto and their mission. And they know it. So those are the things that you need to look at on your day-to-day basis. If you're not doing it now, it's time to start. Next slide. So again, your value, worth, and benefit. Value is perceived benefit. Remember that. Value is a perceived benefit. It's not given. Again, when one provides a service which meets all expectations, you will find a line forming outside your door. All right? How do you become the best? Again, because you have to do things different. You have to think outside the box. You have to create value in what you do every day. You will also have a much better idea of what your job worth is to your employer. And that is notable. Okay, and that's something that you have to chart. That's something that you have to look at, which we'll talk about in a minute, is chart your value, chart things that you do to that change, that make an impact on people, that make them want to come back and say, wow, that was great. Mary changed my day. What Frank did for me today was unbelievable. Next slide. So do me a favor, if you could please engage, and I won't call anybody out because I know some people that might embarrass them, but if you could go in the chat box right now, and if you could put something in there regarding this slide. So what is something you have done to increase member programs and engagement? Just type something in. Again, I won't call anybody's name, but I will mention a few of the things because I think this is the interaction I'd like to see, because these are where we get more ideas. I get more ideas, and I get better communication. So if anybody wants to type something that they feel that you've enhanced your value by doing this your club, it doesn't have to be earth shattering. Doesn't have to be, just give me some examples of value programs that you offer at your facility, or something that you feel you've done that's raised your value, raised your team's value, and raised the value of the operation. Anybody want to type anything in? Bueller? Okay. Well, we've got a lot of shy people here. Like I said, I won't call anybody's name. John Kulo. I'll give it another 30 seconds here. Let's see if we have anything in there. All right, here's a couple here. Monthly golf video, Twilight Leagues, regular fittings, practice with the pro. I love it. In the past, I've offered complimentary lesson to new members of the club. Great. Trunk shows. Thank you for participating, everybody. That really helps. These are all great things that I love to see. Thank you for chiming in and showing some great value. Again, I won't call anybody out because I'm not like that. Well, sometimes, but not today. For those of you who know me. All right, moving on, next slide. Value statement. More people, more fun, more golf, more often. What is that? That is a value statement from a golf professional put that together for his club. And you think, well, that's pretty simple. It can be simple, but you have to follow these. You have to follow your statement. You have to follow what value you've added and commit to it and keep doing it. So this is a very simple version of this. And I picked it out because when I was researching a lot of value statements and mission statements, and I thought this is appropriate because it's what we do. We're about people, we're about fun, we're about golf. And you know what? Let's do it all over again. One of the things that I always said at the clubs that I managed was I said to my staff, I said, do one thing. And it's really easy what we do. People come to a golf course, they want to be there. They're happy. It's not like going to the dentist. No one wants to go to the dentist. Maybe Tom Addis does. I don't know, because he likes, that type of thing, going to dentists, but that's another story. It's more about what they want. They're happy when they get there. You keep them happy while they're there. And when they leave, you know what they say? The goal for them to say is, I can't wait to come back. That is where the more often comes from. That's why this simple statement says it all, in my opinion. Next slide, please. So engagement means revenue. Again, I won't go too deep into the slide because it's pretty simple. You all know this. Having anybody come to your facility, they're going to spend money, whether it's on range balls, whether it's in the cafe, whether it's in the restaurant, whether it's for an event, whether it's taking a lesson, and anything they purchase in the golf shop. All that is more engagement, more often, more value, more money. Identifying members, one idea for you is identifying members, if you haven't done this, who have not been at the club in a while. Take the bottom 10 off the list, and if you can't find that list, ask someone in your membership department or your finance department of the least active members in the last 6 months. Find those least active members, the bottom 10, and reach out to them. Say, I haven't seen you at the club lately, haven't seen you, you haven't played in the ladies club lately. Love to see you, and can't wait to see you here at the club. It's keeping those members you have and keeping them engaged. That's important. Again, that raises your value because you made an extra effort to reach out to them because you care. Bottom line is you care. Next slide. So to develop an engagement calendar. Take it one step farther. I won't go too in depth on this. These slides and this presentation will be recorded, so you'll be able to see this and look back on this. But if you're not doing something now to with an engagement calendar, and you can call it an event calendar, call it what you want, but an event calendar is not the same as an engagement calendar. An engagement calendar gives you the opportunity to do just that, whether it's the ladies club, whether it's a junior league, whether it's a group lesson, whether it's taking 2 of your staff members out to play with one of your members. Those touch points, those engagement points are crucial. And if you plan for it, and the more you can put engagements on your calendar, the better off you're going to be. Again, it shows you are trying to do your best to raise your value for yourself, the team, and your employer. Next slide. So record and report. Are you recording your successes? And who are you reporting to? So, you know, some people are very good at standing on the soapbox and saying how good they are. Other people just do their job and then do it very well and don't look for recognition, which is fine. And that's very humble. I would say, take time to note some of your successes. Take time to record some of what you've done that is memorable. And it may not be memorable to the person who's reading it, but you did have an impact on someone. So if you do reporting, whether it's monthly reporting, weekly reporting, or not, if you do no reporting, start your own report. Start your own weekly report. Just make a small little note, make it a couple of bullet points or a couple of paragraphs, keep it in your own portfolio, keep it at own. This is how you're going to continue to show your value. Because even if your boss or your employer or anybody in your team comes to you and says, you know, what have you done lately? How, you know, here it goes back to raising your value. You know, I want a raise. Well, Ed, what have you done to deserve a raise? Well, look at the things that I've done. Outside of what the calendar says, outside of what my schedule says, I have recorded and reported a lot of my engagements and success stories. And so those are the things that show the value that sometimes can't be seen to an employer. Keep notes, keep a report, keep a record. This next video, we'll try it one more time. Don't start it yet. We'll try this one more time to see if we can get this next video going. This next video, whether we can do it or not, is very helpful and very, very fun, very memorable, and it will take us into our next slide. So let's try it, John, if we can get it to come. And if it doesn't, then I'll tell you a little bit about what happened, and then we'll go to our next slide.
John, do you see a drop down for audio? Yeah, we still don't have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Actually, you can almost watch this and get it without even sound. Just the goal here was to hit 3 shots. I'll just bear with me here. Tiger just rips it right in the middle square, middle circle, I should say. If between the two of them they get 3 in the hole, everybody wins a prize in the audience. So that was one. So now Ellen did not do very well with her first shot. She's going to go back to her driver since Tiger hit the driver. And we'll see what happens here. Well, here you go. Here you go.
That was totally cool.
I shot myself.
That was so cool.
You're all getting the video game. All of you.
So I'm glad you were able to see part of that. Thank you, John. Next slide. If any of you ever saw that show, it was very memorable. And I will say this, Tiger hit 2 shots. They both went in the same tiny circle. Ellen hit 2 shots and one of them she made. Reason why I picked that video to show, because what it does, it showcases something successful, something memorable, something, a great experience that was had by everybody there. So take those experiences and roll it into now the next level of social media. So take your experience, not saying you're going to record everything or take pictures of everything, but anything that you can, whether it's video, whether it's pictures, or capture some moments at your property or at your company, that's the time to do it. Because that's another way of showing your value, is putting stuff out on social media, because another way to show how important you have been to the company, to the club, in raising their value, their notoriety, and what people want to see. So put a plan together. Next slide, John. One more. So your plan, just like you did from before for reporting, put a social media plan together. If you have never done one, I'd be happy to help you with it. If you have, and it doesn't have to be this complex. Again, it could be something in a weekly report. You posted this and that, and include some pictures. You're highlighting your success, and you're highlighting your stories, which highlights you. Again, it's not boasting. What you're doing is you're raising your value. Next slide. So go ahead and keep clicking, John, until you get down to the bottom. So the SOAR, the success story: situation, obstacles, action, results, all go to rewards. What are your successes and how are you recording them? Again, it's something that you need to be very aware of. And again, we can all be humble and modest, which is great. But in order to increase our value, we have to show, there's got to be some record of, there's got to be some accountability. So what you're doing is you're proving that what you've done and how you do it. So showcase your value, establish your reputation. And I would say this, let me piggyback onto that, on your reputation. Network, network, network. Whether it's at your club, whether it's giving back, whether you're volunteering on a committee, a chapter, board, running for the board of directors, or giving back to a local community food bank. Establish your reputation by doing more to raise your value and your networking and your connections. That also builds your credibility. Next slide. Measurable and quantitative, same thing. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of something that you could use for putting together your SOAR, okay? And it's tracking. So you've got your situation, what was it? You've got the actions you took. We talked about social media. Obstacles. What things got in your way that proposed a problem for you to get to where you need to be? Well, let's find a way to get past the obstacles. Now, results. What were the results of what we put together? 4 new corporate events, $20,000 in golf operations, $15,000 in food and beverage, and $30,000 in new memberships. If that's not showcasing your value, nothing is. But again, unless you can prove it, unless you can show it, it's just assumed. And if assuming your boss or your team is always doing a great job, that's fine. But again, in order to show it, you've got to track it and report it. And that's where your value continues to get raised, because your employer will see it and they have proof of what happened. Again, at the very end, tell the success story. Explain what you had done. And don't be afraid to stand up and say, this is what we accomplished. You know, I say we, because very rare does one person, one team member do it all, because there's no I in team. I know that's very cliche, but it's worth saying again and again because it matters. And you have to show that value for yourself and the team. Next slide. So again, there's many different ways to track things. You know, what do you do to add value? Does your employer and members guests know about it? Is it measurable? How are you telling the story? And that's huge in interviews. So if you ever get a chance to sit down and discuss something, whether it's for a social media outlet or a presentation or whatever, explain it. Explain what you had done and how you did it. Share your best practices, because everybody can win from that. As I said before, earlier in the presentation, we all like to take from the best. I don't like the word steal, but we like to borrow great ideas and situations and events and put our own twist on it and make it our own. Because if you want to be the best, you learn from the best and you copy from the best. Write a SOAR story daily or at least once a week. It doesn't have to be long. Again, it goes into your reporting. If you don't do a weekly or monthly report, make sure you include, or if you do a monthly or weekly report, excuse me, make sure you include a short SOAR story. It doesn't have to be expansive. It doesn't have to be long. Again, I'm not trying to create more work for you by coming up with these situations, but what it does is a little extra work shows a lot extra value. Next slide. If you've never read the book, The Go-Giver, I highly recommend it. And I won't go into all the details of this, but write this book down, The Go-Giver. It's the 5 laws of success: the law of value, law of compensation, law of influence, law of authenticity, that's easy for me to say, and law of receptivity, also very easy for me to say. It's a great book. It goes into depth on how it'll help you with being able to do everything that we kind of wrapped up today in this big bow of raising your value, and what details are involved in that, and to help you with greater success in again, showing and raising your value. Again, The Go-Giver, look it up. Next slide. With that, I want to thank everybody for attending today. My information is on the screen. My information is on the section website. And I'm here to help any way I can, today, tomorrow, for the rest of your career, and into retirement in your career. And please know that anything I can do for you, whether it's developing a business plan, helping with anything you do on a day-to-day basis, and I can't make a trip to the dentist any better. I always bring up the dentist because the dentist is for me, my nemesis. I don't like doctors. I don't like needles. I don't like dentists. And I always be careful I say that when I'm not around a dentist, because I don't want to offend any dentist. I don't dislike dentists. I just dislike what they do to my mouth. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up for any questions or answers and turn it back over to John.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ed. Yes, a couple of questions that have come in. When you're talking about motivating, you've got, the core value. You talk about the Ritz-Carlton, the core values, the team goal, and the mantra and the motto. What are some tactics that you have for motivating and inspiring individuals on the team to buy in?
Well, that's a great question. And I think that's a situation where you need to be with that employee, be with that individual, and create a moment of impact. So if they can see it and be part of a moment of impact, of service, of changing someone's day, of making someone's day, and if you're there to help with that moment, all it takes is one. Because like you said, and it's a great question, because you can put anything in your pocket. You can say, I can memorize our mission statement. I can memorize our value statement. That's fine and dandy. Can you live it? Can you show it? And so by embracing employees and fellow teammates and working with them to be part of those moments, and they can see it on how you tackle it and how you do it, or how someone else on your team does it, that again will help you and help the team always get better and be the best they can be and show their value. You're on mute, John.
You talked a little bit about humility versus celebrating your successes, and of course, that has become over the last several years more emphasis on career enhancement. You have to celebrate your successes. I mean, there's a fine line between boasting and celebrating your successes. But if you're not making them known, they don't get known. Now, in terms of celebrating employees' successes, do you have any tactics on how to do that better than other ways so as not to create animosity from teammates that are not as motivated and not as successful as the ones you're trying to celebrate?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to do that. You know, if you're ever if you're ever showcasing something on a report or posting a, you know, if you have an employee of the month type thing or, you know, other things like that, there's many different ways to report, to showcase, and to recognize employees or maybe what they've done without going overboard and extremely highlighting their achievement. For example, you can put, last month we had 4 employees do this, this, and this. You don't have to show who it was, but they have to know at some point that you know that they were the one that did it. And so you can do that by anonymously. You can do it by pulling them aside and sitting them down one-on-one and saying, congratulations, and explaining to them. And so they understand that we're recognizing you and Mary and Frank and Joan for what they've done this past month. But I would also say that, you know, it's not all about them because we're a team. So to highlight your employees is so key and to recognize them. And there's a way to do it without making someone feel so great and their employee or teammate right next to them feel so insignificant. And that's the key, is to make sure that you are recognizing teammates for doing great things and employees for doing great things while still protecting the relationship and the integrity of the employee who's not being recognized at that moment. And again, saying, you know, bringing it back to a team effort here because of Mary, Joan, and Frank's great value and great things that they had done this week or at that event, the whole team wins. So let's see next week who we can, who wants to see what they can do a little different, out of the box thinking they can help their value to help the team. Oh, by the way, we'll recognize Joan for what she had done. We'll recognize, you know, John for what he had done. But we're also going to know that it's most of the time a team effort as well. And at the end of the day, when we do the year-end valuations or month-end evaluations of these employees, you'll see, I know exactly, you'll know who had the value proposition and who raised all the bar time after time again. And that's what's discussed with them. Why? And partly because they told you, they shared it with you. For someone who doesn't share and show it to you, if I'm going through your review, you know, here's what I observed this year, here's what I noticed. Can you add anything that I might have missed in your review? And that's where you can have a chance to show if you haven't been kind of reporting some success stories along the way.
Now, would you mind if we went back and viewed the Duke University YouTube recording that you had in there? We've got the volume working now.
Yes, I think I didn't do it justice, and I told a very horrible story with the way I told it. So listening to the professor on how he explains it and really showing your value. Thanks, John. Let's do that now, please.
What's the problem? The problem is that we don't know how to evaluate what we get. We don't know the value of this. So what do? We evaluate the effort that has gone into it. Imagine the following example. Imagine you drive somewhere and you find a parking meter, and there's a parking meter, and you look for a quarter in your pocket. And you don't have a quarter. And somebody passes by and you say, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a quarter?" And the person says, "Yes, I have a quarter. I'll sell it to you for $1." Do you pay $1 for a quarter? Those people say, "No way, I'll take my chances with City Hall." Case number 2, driving, parking meter, you look for a quarter, you don't have a quarter. A person passes by and you say, "Excuse me, do you have a quarter?" And the person says, "No, I don't have a quarter, but I'll tell you what, there's a bank 4 blocks down the street. If you want, I'll run really fast there, change $1 for quarters, run really fast back, I'll be sweating out of breath. But if I do all this work for you, how do you feel about giving me $1 for my trouble?" Now we feel incredibly happy paying that person. Now, in every objective way, we're worse off. Think about it. You have to wait for the person to run and come back. You get sweaty coins, but we are happier. Why? Because somebody ran for us. And the reality is that across lots of domains, we don't appreciate what we get. We appreciate the effort that has gone into it. Did somebody run for us? And this means all kinds of things for businesses. The first thing it means is that we want to show our customers the effort that we carried on their behalf. And it also means that we want to show our employees the effort that we acted on them. We can expect that if we'll give people magical services and magical work environment, everybody would appreciate us. No. We have a tremendous capacity to take things for granted. Instead, it's our obligation to show the effort that we've put into things for our customers and for our employees.
You can clearly see that I did not do that justice by my story, and I hope you can see the impact of the professor's explanation of that and just how that really does. You have to show your value, and to me, when I could watch that 100 times, it impacts me every time I watch it, and I laugh every time he says you get sweaty coins. I just laugh every time he says you got sweaty coin. I can't help it. Just a funny comment. So.
Well, those are all the questions that I have today. We're just about out of time. I want to thank Ed Winiecki for his time and coming on and educating the section. All the attendees, thank you very much for supporting the Catalyst. We will be sending out an email thanking Ed for his time. We'll also include the recording of this morning's Catalyst. Thank you very much for being with us today. Ed, thank you for your time. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of the week and the weekend ahead too. Thank you very much.